Stewart Dickson.
Thank you, Principal Deputy Speaker. Having the vote is one of the most important rights within a democracy. Therefore, the age at which people can vote is a significant democratic and political issue. The Alliance Party believes that voting age should be reduced to 16 for all elections. After all, members in this House will have heard on numerous occasions the following: no taxation without representation. And the clearest argument that we can see for such a change is not the arguments that have been put in this House today, but the basic and very simple principle that if you pay taxation, you have a right to representation and a say in that representation. And that clearly comes at the age of 16, when if you're in employment, you have to pay income tax. It's as simple as that. Yes.
Arguing therefore those 16-year-olds who stay in education and don't pay taxes should be able to vote.
Next minute.
Okay. No, Mr. Speaker, that clearly is not the argument I'm making. I'm quite simply making the argument if you have a legal age of 16, there are many pensioners and others who don't pay tax, but because they've reached a certain point, the principle is in the round at the age of 16. If you pay taxation, you have a right to representation and you have the right to have a say in that representation. If you're old enough to work full-time and pay taxes, then it's fair to have a say in how that money is spent and to have the opportunity to hold account those who make the policy decisions in the spending of that money. I asked members how they would feel if they were 16, working full-time and paying taxes, with a real interest in politics and a desire to have a say in how tax from their hard-earned income and wages is spent, but are unable to do so. I'm glad to see that at least some members of the party that's espousing opposition today, including another one of its MPs, has actually, or maybe this is cynical, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, some sign early day motions and others take the publicity opportunities to ensure that they're supporting voting at 16. I will.
Just conscious of the member that by holding up a photograph it's not going to be recorded in Hansard, that you actually held up a picture of Ian Paisley Jr. who, when the Northern Ireland Youth Forum also tweeted on the 19th of October 2012, Ian Paisley Jr. says he's happy to go on record as being in favour of votes at 16, though his party is agnostic. Now, I'm not sure if it's the Assembly Party, the entire party, or just the ones that aren't really sure at this minute in time.
Principal Deputy Speaker, those who champion democracy cannot and should not stand over such a situation. Whether or not 16 and 17-year-olds are denied the vote is not widely regarded as a serious issue, as the historical denial, for example, of votes to women and other groups in society. But maybe the DUP would also have agreed with those who denied votes to women by describing them as feeble-minded. So maybe the DUP believe that 16-year-olds are feeble-minded, because that's what people said about women who were denied the opportunity to vote. However, if the arguments against lowering the voting age are found to be weak or unconvincing, then the exclusion of a particular section of the public from voting has to be taken very seriously. The maturity of 16 and 17-year-olds is an issue for many opposed to any change. Questions of maturity, of course, are important. Ideally, we want citizens to be properly engaged. But as my colleague from East Antrim, Mr Beggs, has said, citizenship is part of the curriculum. With knowledge of the political system and an understanding of the nature and significance of the issue that are subject of public and political debate. However, if we take such a logic to its natural conclusion, we must ask, are citizens at 18, or 40, or 50, or 62 equally mature to make those decisions? Can we honestly say that all citizens currently entitled to vote have the same understanding? We cannot. And if we cannot, then this argument must not be used to justify denying 16 and 17-year-olds the right to vote. Another argument put forward against the change is that extending voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds will not lead to a significant increase in the number of people voting. That may be the situation, but this isn't, and others have said it is, an issue of increasing the number of people voting. But that's not why I'm supporting people at the ages of 16 and 17 being able to vote. I'm supporting people at the ages of 16 and 17 to be able to vote because I believe that's the right democratic thing to do. If that encourages more people to vote, that's a good outcome, but it's not the principal reason for supporting votes at 16 and 17. None of us know for certain whether such an extension would lead to that significant increase in numbers of young people voting, but we need to consider and implement measures that deal with political disengagement. And if by extending the vote encourages people to engage with politics at a younger age, then everyone in this chamber should agree with me that that is a good thing. If it did not have such an effect, that would be disappointing, but it certainly is not a reason to deny politically active 16-year-olds their democratic rights. Many of us have received letters from the Northern Ireland Youth Forum and other youth groups, and we cannot deny that there are young people passionate about politics. I received 6 or 7 postcards in the mail today and can expect more following this debate this evening. Today we have an opportunity to demonstrate to those young people that we respect their views as valid, we regard them as equal citizens with the rest of us, and I urge members in this House to support this motion. Let us send a message today to our colleagues in the House at Westminster who have the decision-making powers. And yet again, I do challenge Sinn Féin, because the comment has been made in this House. Why don't you go and use your vote and stand up for what you're preaching in this House today? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.